All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, it's that time of the year, folks. College football is back and it is in full effect. And with that said, here are some key games to watch for this upcoming weekend. Now, tomorrow night, the Big Ten opener and the regular season debut for both Penn State and Purdue. And it's still early, but nobody wants to get off on the wrong foot. Now, for Penn State, they're looking to put last year's swoon in the second half behind them. Remember, they started off very strong, but they stumbled coming down the stretch. Now, for head coach James Franklin, he has a veteran quarterback in Sean Clifford to rely on. You have talent at the skill positions with running back Kevon Lee, as well as wide receiver Parker Washington. And on the flip side for Purdue, Jeff Brom and his crew, they're looking to build off of last year's big breakthrough season. I look for quarterback Aiden O'Connell to have a solid year for the Boilermakers, and I think it begins tomorrow night. I think this is going to be a very close game, but the home fans in West Lafayette and the home field advantage in West Lafayette will be a difference for the Boilermakers in this one. This I'm going to take Purdue by the score of 34-28. Now on Saturday in Atlanta at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, you're going to have the 11th ranked Ducks of Oregon out of the Pac-12 conference traveling to take on the third ranked Georgia Bulldogs out of the SEC, who are also the defending national champions. And for Oregon, it's a homecoming for their new head coach, Dan Lanning, who spent the last 4 years on Kirby Smart's staff at Georgia. Now, Oregon is breaking in new quarterback and former Auburn quarterback Bo Nix, so he's very familiar with going up against Georgia. Also, keep an eye out for middle linebacker Noah Sewell, one of the better defenders in the Pac 12, and he probably will be in the mix to be the Pac 12's Defensive Player of the Year for 2022. Now, on the flip side for Georgia, how are the defending champs going to fare? You have a veteran quarterback in Stetson Bennett, as well as tight end Brock Bowers, who is one of the better tight ends in the nation. Now, for the Dogs, they have a lot of talent to replace defensively, but Kirby Smart is one of the better recruiters in the nation, and it won't take that long for Georgia to get back on track. This, I'm going to take the Dogs in this one by the score of 30-20. Now you're going to have the 23rd ranked Bearcats of Cincinnati out of the American traveling to Fayetteville to take on the 19th ranked Arkansas Razorbacks out of the SEC. Both of these teams are looking to build off of strong 2021 campaigns because if you remember, Cincinnati went undefeated in the regular season en route to a berth in the college football playoff. Now, the Bearcats have a lot to replace on this team for head coach Luke Fickell, but one player to still keep an eye on is junior linebacker Deshaun Pace. On the flip side for Sam Pittman in Arkansas, it's as KJ Jefferson goes, so do the fortunes of this team. And I think this Bearcats defense is going to have their hands full all afternoon trying to slow down Mr. Jefferson. Thus, I'm going to take the Razorbacks at home by the score of 31-20. Now, you're going to have the 24th ranked Houston Cougars traveling to take on the Roadrunners of Texas San Antonio. And UTSA won 12 games last year, which means that Houston cannot overlook them in this contest. Now, for Houston head coach Dana Holgerson, he has plenty of talent on this team, and the Houston team definitely has what it takes to win the American. As you look at quarterback Clayton Tune, wide receiver Nathaniel Dell, and then defensively middle linebacker Donovan Mooten. Now, UTSA has plenty of talent as well. Quarterback Frank Harris is one of the better quarterbacks in Conference USA. I look for wide receiver Zachary Franklin to have a big year, and then there's plenty of experience on this offensive line for the Roadrunners as they have four seniors. Also, keep an eye out for safety Rashad Wisdom in this game. And for anybody who thinks this is going to be an easy win for the Cougars, I don't think so. Houston better pack a lunch in this one if they want to win. I'm still going to take the Cougars, but it's going to be a good one by the score of 41-30. Now, on Saturday night in the Swamp, you have the 7th ranked Utah Utes out of the Pac-12, taking on the unranked Florida Gators. And the defending Pac-12 champions will begin their season in the swamp. You think about Utah head coach Kyle Whittingham. He kind of has that mindset of the former Fresno State head coach Pat Hill. Will play anybody, anywhere, anytime. And this is a big doing for Utah to go cross country and take on the Gators. I look for the defending Pac 12 champs to rely on what helped them win the Pac 12 last year. Quarterback Cam Rising is one of the better dual threat quarterbacks in the nation. And Utah is a very physical team up front, which means that you can expect a heavy dose of running back Tavion Thomas in this game. Now, the Billy Napier era has begun for Florida as their new head coach. And this is a transition process, and this is going to be a transition year for the Gators. You still have quarterback Anthony Richardson, and also defensively, keep an eye out for hybrid Brenton Cox Jr. as well as safety Rashard Torrance. Utah is the real deal, and I think Florida is going to be a work in progress as the year progresses. Typically, you don't see Florida having big games coming out of the chute, but this is a change of pace for the Gators. But nonetheless, I'm going to take Utah on the road in this one by the score of 34-24. Now, a big one that a lot of people are looking at for Saturday night, you're going to have the fifth-ranked Notre Dame Fighting Irish traveling to Columbus to take on the second-ranked team in the land, the Ohio State Buckeyes, out of the Big Ten, as this is a meeting between college football superpowers. Now, Marcus Freeman had his first game as Notre Dame's head coach in the Fiesta Bowl last year, replacing Brian Kelly in a loss to Oklahoma State. But now this is his first official year as the head coach of Notre Dame. And for the youngster at quarterback, Tyler Buchner, good luck, because now your first real big start in college football is going to take place in front of 100,000 people at the Horseshoe in Columbus. Tight end Michael Meyer for Notre Dame, one of the better pass catchers at his position in the nation. And I think this guy is going to be a top 15, maybe top 20 pick in next spring's NFL draft. Defensively for Notre Dame, there is plenty of talent with Isaiah Foskey and J.D. Bertrand in that front seven, but they're going to have their hands full. When you think about that juggernaut that is the Ohio State offense under head coach Ryan Day. I'm talking about CJ Stroud at quarterback, Travion Henderson at running back, and Jackson Smith and Jingba at wide receiver. All three of these guys that I just mentioned have what it takes to be in the mix to win the Heisman. They're that good. Also, keep an eye out for free safety Ronnie Hickman on defense for the Buckeyes. And even though that Marcus Freeman once upon a time played for Ohio State, it's going to be a little bit different going up against his alma mater. This time around, I'm going to take Ohio State to win at home by the score of 34-20. Now, moving on to Sunday, you're going to have the Florida State Seminoles traveling to New Orleans to take on the LSU Tigers out of the SEC. And it's not that often that you see these two teams right here with everything that they stand for and mean in college football beginning a season unranked, but that is what we have this year. Now, for the Noles, they were able to get off on the right foot last week with a win at home, but they got to try to find a way to add to it. Now, for quarterback Jordan Travis, he looked very comfortable in that pocket neck last week, and obviously it's going to be a little bit different going up against LSU. But defensively for the Noles, one guy that I want to keep an eye on is free safety Jamie Robinson. Now, for LSU, it's the beginning of the Brian Kelly era as their new head coach. He's breaking in a new quarterback Jaden Daniels, the former Arizona State quarterback, transferred to LSU, and now it's his time to get it going in the SEC. However, in this game versus a team from the ACC, wide receiver Keyshawn Butte, one of the big time holdovers from the Ed Orgeron era, is somebody to keep an eye on, as well as free safety BJ Ojolari. Now, when you think about the Bayou Bengals going to the Superdome, it's usually a home away from home. I think this is going to be a good game, a very good game, but I think Florida State is going to pull it out in a tight one. I'm going to take the Noles by the score of 31-30. And finally, on Monday night, once again in Atlanta at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, it's an ACC matchup as you're going to have the fourth-ranked Clemson Tigers clashing with the Yellow Jackets of Georgia Tech. Now, the Tigers should win this game because the Georgia Tech has not been a good team in recent years. But one thing that I want to keep an eye on is this Clemson offense because it was not very good last year. So I want to see the maturation process for quarterback DJU. Is he going to be more of a playmaker this year for Dabo Sweeney? That's going to be important because depending on what DJU can and cannot do, it's really going to break down Clemson's chances on the national scene. Remember, for all it's worth, Clemson still won 10 games last year. But, obviously it got overlooked. But nonetheless, this was still a very good football team. You still have linebacker Trenton Simpson as well as defensive end Miles Murray. And I think they're going to dictate the pace against the Yellow Jackets. I think Clemson wins easy. But again, I want to see how this Tigers offense looks. But nonetheless, I'm going to take Clemson on the road by the score of 35-17. So, folks, those are my key picks and my key games for this upcoming weekend in the world of college football. And as always, I want to take the time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you are on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. You can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I am signing off, saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.